your education level or your lack of education or how involved you want to be. There's a lot of variables that we take into account, and then we say, okay, here's a plan. You start like this, that's great. And then we review it all the time. And we say, okay, we need to increase it, we're on track, we're not, this is what is happening. Because remember, when you're dealing with assets, the valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds. And they're different, right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and I'm here to keep you company all the way until 9 a.m. So make sure to stay tuned because I'm here to make sure that you're always informed and updated about literally everything and anything that happens all over the world, okay? And that is what we do on Relaks Radio as well. So feel free to actually go ahead and get in touch with me because all you need to do is just text me or call me on 078-52473473. Share your thoughts, share your opinions because I would absolutely love to hear everything that you have to say. Okay, so make sure to actually share your thoughts and share your opinions with me because that would be absolutely amazing. All right, now while you're at it as well, don't forget to actually go and like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and also to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well because that way you can actually find our conversation when it happens, and you will always be the first to know when it happens as well. So don't forget to do that. And also want to very quickly remind you that our app is available for download as well, and all you need to do is just head on over to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, type in Relaks Radio on that search bar and download the app. It's as simple as that, and it also helps you listen into the conversation from wherever you are in the world by also making sure that you are always informed and updated, and you're also listening into our conversation and making sure you are keeping yourself informed and updated about all of this. All right, so make sure to actually be a part of this show and share your thoughts and opinions with me because I would love to hear everything that you have to say. Okay, now schools in Southwest, we're going to be talking about how schools in Southwest have actually asked for masks to be worn, especially because of the rise in coronavirus cases, but also because there has been statistics that show that the rate of infection right now is in fact much higher than it used to be last year. Okay, now earlier we were talking about this as well. We were talking about how there has been information that has basically shown how right now the rate of infection is in fact 26 times higher than what it used to be last year, right? However, even though that's the case, in terms of hospital admissions and the rate of death, that has in fact reduced drastically because back then we used to have about 1,100 deaths a day, but right now we only have about 80 deaths a day. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind. Now, secondary school and college pupils will in fact need to wear face masks in communal areas outside their classrooms yet again in parts of Southwest England, right? And this is as extra support was in fact pledged in response to a rise in coronavirus cases. All right, now if anything, we had restrictions that were lifted on the 19th of July, and then along with that there was also there was also no legal requirement for people to actually wear masks, right? And the only, the only setting where they were required to wear masks were if they were in indoor settings and there was no proper ventilation. All right, so that was the only time when they actually had to wear these masks, right? But right now, ever since that July 19th, it was Freedom Day here in England, and all of these restrictions were eased and people weren't required to wear masks, socially distance, or even sanitize their hands and whatnot. A lot of people actually just completely ignored that we used to be doing these things, right? Because for a lot of people in their heads, it generally just felt like, oh, you know what, everything's over, the pandemic's over, we're going back to normal. When the truth is, the pandemic isn't really over, right? We're still in the process. We're still trying to figure out how to get out of this pandemic. But just because we have a good vaccination drive, we have a vaccination drive that is better in comparison to most countries, and a lot of the people here have been vaccinated, that doesn't mean that coronavirus doesn't exist anymore, because the truth is it still exists, right? So it's very, very important for us to make sure and keep in mind that even though these restrictions have been eased and we're not legally required to follow them, it's good to have like a little bit of common sense and actually follow them for your own safety and for the safety of your family as well. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind as well. So now let's actually talk about what exactly is happening and why exactly the students actually required to wear masks. Okay, now, the Department of Health and Social Care said that from Friday, Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly, and Devon, Plymouth, and also Torbay local authority areas, which basically have recorded a rise in cases, would get help to increase vaccine and testing uptake and also to deliver more public health messaging, right? Now, I feel like this is something that needs to be done, because even at the beginning of the pandemic, the sort of information that we had about the pandemic, the sort of information that was given for the public was in fact there was a lack of clarity, right? And I feel like this is part of the reason why as to why there needs to be more funding in terms of public health messaging, because although schools in the areas will return from next week as planned, students in secondary schools and colleges will actually have to wear face masks in these communal areas. All right, now the guidance has also been the guidance was also scrapped on the 19th of July, which was a Freedom Day, and this is what I was talking about as well. But right now, let's actually head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss this further. But until then, make sure to stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio, and we're talking about how schools in southwest of England might actually, or rather, ask for masks to be worn, especially when they're coming to school, because of the rise in coronavirus cases that we're currently seeing all across the United Kingdom. All right. So if you want to find out more, make sure to stay tuned because all you need to do is just text me or call me on 078 524 share your thoughts, share your opinions because I would love to hear everything that you have to say. All right. And also, while you're at it, don't forget to go follow us on our socials because you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. All right. So if you want to find out our videos, when it happens and where it happens, and the best way for you to check all of that out is definitely through YouTube. All right. So don't forget to actually do that. And now let's actually, or rather, before we head into the conversation, I want to very quickly remind you that our app is available for download completely free of charge. So make sure to go ahead, download our app because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And let me know what your thoughts and opinions are, all right? Because I would love to hear everything that you have to say. And now let's actually head into our conversation because we need to talk about how schools in schools in southwest England might actually, or rather they require their students to wear masks in an attempt to actually make sure that their students are safe from the rising coronavirus cases. All right, now the new measures are expected to be put in place for 5 weeks with the impact that is going to be monitored. All right, and it comes after these new figures actually showed growing numbers of local areas, including southwest England, were in fact recording the highest rates of new cases of COVID-19 since comparable records began, right? Now, the third wave is in fact continuing to pick up pace across the United Kingdom, and most of it is obviously, contributions by the Delta variant, to put it that way. The Delta variant is in fact very infectious, and that is why we're seeing so much of infection that is spreading across the United Kingdom. All right, and the truth of the matter is, it's so infectious that even if you're vaccinated, sometimes if you do get the Delta variant, the level of virus in your body can be as high as people who haven't been vaccinated. All right, now the return of schools, a bank holiday weekend about to begin in all nations except Scotland, and also busy calendar of sport and music likely to attract large crowds are all feared to be events that could push rates much higher. Okay, so these are in fact reasons as to why these cases could rise much further than it already is, and government scientific advisors have basically warned against universities hosting freshers weeks next month, right? And this is obviously with regard to the rise in COVID-19 cases, and obviously because they know that if these universities host these freshers weeks next month, what's potentially going to happen is that there's going to be very large spikes in coronavirus cases, right? Now, universities across the country are in fact planning to hold in-person events for the first-year students next month for the first time since 2019. All right, and Freshers Fair Week will also have the potential for being a super spreader event. And however much universities pay attention to making it as safe as possible, it's the behavior of people that won't be known. All right, so it's important to keep that in mind as well. And right now, we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that, we will be back to discuss this further. So make sure to stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow.